Pathmark is the intelligent tool for website lead generation. With increasing online competition, over 98% of website visitors don't convert. The ability to successfully show your value proposition and support visitors in their buying journey separates you from the competition online. Pathmark qualifies and converts leads on your website by figuring out where they are in the buying journey and influencing them in key decision moments with the relevant micro experiences like case studies, intro videos, and much more. Stay relevant to your visitors and increase conversions by 50%. Add Pathmark to your website in seconds. Let the AI do all the work and get access to 50% more qualified leads while you keep doing marketing and sales as usual. Check us on pathmark.com. Welcome to today's episode. Let's talk about today's guest. We have Marc Steinsberger from Convensis, Senior Manager Communications with them. How are you doing today, Marc?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for asking. To appreciate you joining us today in today's episode. Yeah, well, I'm sure. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to say that I'm also really happy to have the opportunity, and I'm excited to be here. And yeah, let's just dive right into it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, let's start off by talking about what Convensis is all about in your own words. Tell us a little bit more, Marc.
Yeah, so Convensis is ultimately a full-service communications agency. You might have picked up on the accent. We are home-based in Germany, Stuttgart, but we have now also branches in Berlin and also here in the States on the East Coast. So, and yeah, like we really address all communications needs from consulting over corporate communications all the way to digital and social communications. So that's what we do for our clients.
Definitely. Okay. And so that way then, Marc, our listeners who are tuned in could get a good understanding there at Convensis. What would you say is that key problem that you guys like to solve for clients?
Yeah, so I think that the problem that we solve really is quite individual for each client that we work with. It could be a consulting issue that we have a client that wants to maybe go through rebranding, and we help them to really just find that way to how to rebrand and reposition their own brand. And kind of like how to create a unique brand identity, and also how that translates into language and how they can most effectively get their word out to their audience. And sometimes that is done through like the new corporate design. Sometimes it's done through public relations, corporate communications. We do speech writing, and we also take care of our clients' social media accounts. Also here the whole range from helping them, with the strategy, with the approach, all the way to writing their posts. We have a photography and videography department. We take care of the visuals. So it kind of like really depends. But I think we're like really solution oriented, and we always do an approach where we take the client by the hand and connect them with those experts that we have in our various departments to maybe finding the way to their goal the easiest. So in that sense, I think we offer great guidance in the communications world that can be sometimes confusing.
Definitely, Marc. And well, talking about those clients, right? I mean, you guys have worked with Amway, LDM, iSwatch. Is there a certain vertical segment that you guys like to focus? Is there an ideal ICP then for you guys?
Yeah, so the clients that you mentioned are kind of like the clients where Convensis has come from, which was in the sort of luxury goods and for our communications. We have a strong suit still today in the luxury and watch industry. But we have also greatly diversified over the last 20 years. So it is kind of like really depending on the departments, but I think we can say that we serve now really all industries from in industrial fields, the automotive industry, especially in Stuttgart, which is particularly strong, but also finance, medical field. So we've been quite diversifying over the last couple of years, which I think is quite interesting for us as an agency, but has also helped us to grow.
Definitely important. Okay. And so then how would say I was in the automotive industry, how would I usually find out about Convensis? Is there a top client acquisition channel for you guys?
Yeah, so I think it's kind of like a mix. We were lucky to get a lot of work through recommendations, word of mouth. We do a lot of networking. We're present at conventions, events, that kind of thing. Then, of course, we're also active on all the social media channels. I think that's a given today. LinkedIn. Our founder is very present. He's also a professor, so like he's kind of like, just sort of out there, and yeah, I think as a team in general are just trying to be out there where our potential new clients are. So I think it's like a mix of recommendations and sort of like more like general marketing approach.
That's okay. But all right. Thank you so much for sharing with us that, Mark. And so that way our listeners who are tuned in could go ahead and visit you. They could always check you out at convensis.com. What role does the website then play for client acquisition, Mark?
Yeah. So I think the website is like sort of the front door to us. Like you get a first idea of like what is Convensis really about. You get to learn about our services. You get to see some references. So what industries we serve, but also what actual results that we do look like. I think that's very important because communications is something that is very individual. So I think if I were interested in that, I would want to see, okay, what are actual results that they could create for me. And then, of course, there's also a way to find a direct contact to us. It's kind of like maybe that would be the doorbell, if you will, at that front door metaphor. So I think in that sense, it plays a central role. We also like always redirect from our socials and our newsletter to our website. So it is positioned, I think, in that customer journey quite centrally. But then I think it is important that once people actually open that door up, that, you start an interpersonal dialogue and like really try to like get into an exchange of like what the client's problem is and how we would go about and addressing that. So I think it's a very important first part to dive deeper into a client relationship.
Definitely. Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. So then on that note then, Mark, is there any tools or tips or methods that you would recommend to our listeners as far as some website lead generation?
Absolutely. So in terms of like technological tools, the people from our digital department would know better. I know that obviously the writing, the editing we take care of, that it's, search engine optimized. But I think when it comes really to like a content point of view, I think it's important to like find sort of that happy medium. Like on the one hand, you want to like share and you want to show what distinguishes you from other agencies. Because I mean, let's be honest, there's quite a lot out there. So I think you really want to showcase who you are as a service provider. But then I think the navigation has to still be somewhat straightforward. Like you don't want to make it too complicated for the audience to navigate your website. You don't want to like, try to do too much. So I think finding sort of that happy medium and keeping things also somewhat simple and also intuitive to navigate is important as well.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for sharing with us, Mark, with some great insights there for our listeners. Well, let's switch gears a little bit then, Mark. Let's talk about you as a leader there for Convensis. You being the senior manager of communications there, what are some key tasks you like to focus on your day-to-day work?
Yeah, so I think agency work in general is quite diverse. There's not really, one day that's alike the other. There's, I think, always about 50% that are plannable. And so, but what we do is we serve usually different clients. We're involved in different projects at the same time, which kind of like really helps to learn a lot also. So what I do a lot is writing. I write press releases. I do speech writing for C-level executives at some of our clients. But then we also do a lot of research, kind of try to stay up on top of trends. I mean, there's just so much going on there in the world, especially of communications, marketing tools, artificial intelligence, you name it. And then I do also oversee our corporate communications department. So I also have quite a team to, manage, supervise, facilitate. So I think it's 50% client meetings, 50% internal meetings, and then whatever comes on top is on top of these 100% that I just added up.
Okay, perfect. Well, awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. And so, in your busy day there, Mark, how do you stay up to date with the news, trends, strategies out there in the marketing world? Is there a preferred channel that you like to go with?
Yeah, so I do have a couple newsletters signed up. I listen to podcasts just like this one. We also do a lot of professional development where just like we as an agency try to take part in. We just had one about the changes to the LinkedIn algorithm. So I think there's not just this one way to stay on top of things, but I think it's important to just like really be curious, be out there, and read up on the latest trends. And I think also never think that something is not relevant to you because it's, you know, like people thought for a while that artificial intelligence is not going to really be something for the next 5 to 10 years. And all of a sudden ChatGPT was released and we were all worried that would mean for our field. So I think it's kind of like really all of that, staying agile, staying curious, and being out there, immersing yourself, reading magazines. There's so many informative materials out there. So I think that's kind of that.
All right, awesome, great. Thank you so much for sharing with us, Marc.
Bless you.
Thank you. And so let's jump into our next section then here, Marc, which is our rapid fire question rounds. Are you ready for them?
Yep, fire away.
Awesome. First off then, Marc, is what is the last book that you read?
Yeah, so that was actually a book called 24/7 Politics. It's a book about how sort of the availability of broadcast and cable TV since the 60s has shaped the political narrative. I don't want to get too political here. It's just a personal interest that I have. I'm curious about history, politics, media, and whenever those three intersect. But it's a great read, especially I think with the election coming up, and you know, just kind of like how political campaigning is done and has been transformed over the last couple of decades.
All right, awesome. Great read there for our listeners. Next up, then, is if there would be no boundaries in technology, what would be that one thing that you want to have fixed for your role as a marketer today?
Yes, I think earlier I touched already on this word of algorithms. You know how there's these tools for that check the SEO performance of your website. I think, and maybe that exists and I just haven't heard of it yet, but if there were a tool that if I draft a post for social media and I could just put it in there and it will tell me this is how it will perform on the algorithm, because, you know, the algorithms for each platform are different. The LinkedIn algorithm is different than the Instagram or Facebook one. So just kind of like, and also it changes so quickly. So I think if there was a tool that would always keep up with those changes and would check your drafts right away and tell you, hey, you got to optimize this, that would be perfect because it would save us a lot of time, and we're trying to keep up with it, but it's a constant, you know, race.
Okay, very great there, insights. Then next up, then, Marc, is if there's one repetitive task that you could automate, what would that be?
Yeah, so I think that would be reportings. I mean, of course, there's some sort that is automated, especially when it comes to KPIs, but I think there's always a great part that you have to do yourself. You have to, you know, keep track of what you did for the client in a several months. Maybe you want to put like the publications in there. So it's a lot of research and putting together, and it always haunts us at the end of each month. So if that were something that, you know, with the tip of the finger would be just done automatically, I think that would be great. So I think if the level of automation here could be higher, that would be a great help.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much for saying that. And well, Marc, I mean, we have the experience already in the marketing world. What would be that one piece of advice that you would give yourself if you were to restart your journey as a marketer today?
Yeah. So I think, you know, it would be probably that listening is just as important as speaking or writing. You know, kind of really getting to the bottom of what our clients are telling us, what their need is, or also doing that diligent research about the audience that we want to reach. That's, I think, crucial. Communications is something that feels very intuitive to a lot of people because we do it every day. We do it, you know, with our peers. We do it in the professional and the private world. But if you're too intuitive about it, I think there's a certain risk of just jumping right into it and not, you know, really thinking it through and maybe overlooking certain things. So I think it's important to first take a step back, listen, really assess the problems, the needs, be curious, you know, and sort of open-minded as well. Try to change that perspective and then translate that into your own approach. So I think that's something. So it's also almost like a little bit of a hint that goes into this direction of being patient and being, you know, just not jumping right with the gun.
Perfect. Awesome. All right. Great. Thank you so much for sharing those insights for our listeners, Marc. And well, I mean, Marc, we are coming to the end of the show here, but before we do end, I do want to give you the last word. Say someone forgets everything about the interview today. What is that one thing they should remember about Convensis?
Yeah, so I think if you want to put in one word, it would be guidance. I think that communications is something, there's no right or wrong always. That's very often about evaluating and weighing options. And then there's trends that pop up all the time and challenges that we face. And I think it's sometimes very hard to navigate that world. And I think in that world, also choosing which is the right channel for me, which is the right audience, which maybe different audiences that I want to address. So in all of that jungle, I think we offer guidance and sort of help our clients navigate that communications jungle out there.
Excellent. Okay, great. Some great there for our listeners. And so that way they could go ahead and visit you if they're looking for some guidance. They could check you out at convensis.com. And well, Marc, I do want to thank you for being on with us today, as well as to our listeners for tuning in. And stay tuned for our next episode at Pathmonk Presents. Thanks a lot, Marc.
Thank you.